Joan? It's Betty. Would you send Keith home for lunch? Oh, he's not. Honestly, that kid. Listen, will you send him home if he shows up?
Prolonged exposure to cold and damp, or immersion in cold water, can reduce the core temperature of the body to a dangerous level. When the temperature of the body core falls more than 2 degrees below normal, which is 37 degrees Celsius, the condition is called hypothermia. A casualty suffering from mild hypothermia is conscious, ambulatory, and responsive. Pulse and respiration are normal.
No, he's still not back yet. I'm really worried, honey. You better come home.
Speech may be slurred, behavior erratic. He feels cold and will shiver. At this stage, the casualty will recover quickly if he is dried and warmed. If external factors remain unchanged, the condition will progress to moderate hypothermia.
Oh, officer, well, let me think. Blue jeans, his blue ski jacket, and, oh yes, and his knapsack.
Respiration slows. Pulse becomes slow, weak, and shallow. Pupils are dilated. Skin is pale and bluish. The casualty is disoriented, confused, and irrational. He may hallucinate. Coordination fails. Shivering is violent and uncontrollable. He feels deep cold and great fatigue.
No news. Yeah, I know, and it rained last night, too. They tell me everything possible is being done. Jim's out with the search parties.
When shivering stops, the casualty has progressed into severe hypothermia. The casualty is unconscious, even comatose. He may look dead. Assess breathing and pulse. Take your time. Respiration may be slow or absent. Allow at least 2 minutes to detect the pulse. It may be so slow and weak that it seems absent. Skin is blue. Pupils are dilated. You must immediately make a decision. Will you attempt first aid right away, or try to evacuate the casualty to medical aid? First aid should be administered on the spot when help is remote, or when moving the casualty will pose a significant risk. Perform a quick secondary examination, but do not take time to treat secondary injuries at this point. The first priority is to dry and rewarm the casualty. Carefully remove all wet clothing. Handle the casualty very gently. Vigorous handling may lead to cardiac arrest. Do not even attempt to rub the limbs. Place the casualty in a sleeping bag or wrap him up in dry blankets or clothing. Body-to-body contact is often the most effective first aid technique for rewarming a casualty suffering from hypothermia. Provide whatever supplementary heat you can. Monitor breathing and pulse. If there is no pulse, perform CPR at a rate appropriate to the age of the casualty. Talk to the casualty. Try to assess responsiveness by asking simple questions. What is your name? How old are you? What day is it? A casualty who has suffered from prolonged exposure will be very dehydrated. Do not give fluids until the casualty has fully regained consciousness and responsiveness. Fluids should be warm and sweet. Never give alcohol or drugs to a casualty with hypothermia. Although a casualty recovering from hypothermia must receive medical aid, you will have to make certain judgments. Can he be moved safely? Can you, the rescuer, withstand the stress of carrying the casualty? Is there enough daylight left? Can medical aid be brought to the casualty? If moving the casualty poses an undue risk to yourself or to the casualty, it is preferable to send for help or wait until you can both withstand the trip. Know the territory. Plan your route. Always tell someone where you are going and your expected time of return. Conserve energy. Avoid fatigue. Go around objects rather than over them. Limit the time spent in the cold. Eat regularly and often. High-energy foods like raisins, nuts, chocolate are ideal. Avoid dehydration. Always avoid alcohol. Carry extra dry clothing, especially socks. Clothing should be layered. Take particular care to keep head, hands, and feet dry and covered. Mitts are superior to gloves. Although it may sound peculiar, if your feet are cold, put on a hat.